When traditional education models seem increasingly out of step with the needs of the modern world, where do we look for better answers? Especially at a time where technology is reshaping how we work, connect and learn, the skills needed for success are evolving faster than any traditional school system can adapt. So today I've invited the co-founder and CEO of a company called Outschool to join me on the podcast, which is a platform that has helped over 1 million students explore their passions through live online classes in subjects ranging from traditional academics to more unconventional topics like coding through Minecraft and science through fun. And science through fun, maybe unexpected lenses. So, in a world where personalised learning and interest-driven education is becoming more important than ever, my guest is going to share how Outschool is addressing that growing disconnect between the classroom and the real world. And we'll discuss how personalised education can help close the skills gap, the importance of critical thinking, creativity and adaptability for the future workforce, and how AI might reshape but not replace human-driven learning experiences. So, as traditional schooling struggles to keep pace, could platforms like Outschool be showing us a glimpse of what a truly future-ready education looks like? Well, on that note, it's time for me to officially introduce you to today's guest. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Pleasure to be talking, Neil. My name's Amir Nathoo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Outschool, which is an online learning platform for kids. We offer 100,000 live online classes for kids. These take place on small groups over video chat. And kids and a teacher can join from anywhere in the world and learn anything that is of interest to families. So everything from core education to tutoring to enrichment and music classes and Minecraft classes. So everything that you can imagine. And we've served over 1 million families worldwide.
Wow, that's fantastic. There's a mantra on this podcast I always say is technology works best when it brings people together. And the fact that you're using technology to help over 1 million students learn in ways that better suit their interests rather than just, I don't know, when I was growing up, education seemed to be about just throw as much as you can out to the class and hopefully most people will pick it up. But for those unfamiliar, how would you describe what makes Outschool a little bit different from, let's say, traditional online education platforms?
A couple of things. Firstly, there's a lot of choice. And what that means is that you can find exactly the right class or educational opportunity to really engage and inspire your kid. So if your kid is not enjoying maths in school and you want to find them some help, then you can find exactly the right teacher and group on Outschool that's really going to gel with their way of learning. Or if they're interested in something that just isn't provided in school, or they want to learn in a different way. For example, many of the families who come to our platform have kids who are gifted or who have special unique learning needs and need a different kind of help. So that choice really allows you to really find the perfect fit, unlike a one-size-fits-all system or a large classroom. And then the second part about it is that everyone is really engaged in an Outschool class because no one is forced to be there. You know, the kids are there out of choice, and the teachers are there because we encourage them to teach the classes that they've always wanted to teach. And so that enthusiasm and engagement is contagious when teachers are really into what they're teaching. And so those two things, the choice and the engagement, really make Outschool classes different.
And in 3,500 interviews on here, one of the things that I've learned is behind every company is a very personal origin story. And when I tried to dig a little bit deeper on that, where you're concerned, I was reading that you started coding games as a kid and later built a company that was inspiring that same curiosity and others. So what other personal experiences helped shape your vision for what education should be or how to improve it? And how did those moments lead to founding at Outschool? Because I've got a feeling there's got to be a big story there too, right?
Yeah, there's lots of influences, and you pointed out one, which was that my parents really helped me pursue interests when I was a kid, including learning how to program. Not because it was a big profession back then, but because they saw I was interested in it. But it's turned into something that's been really, really valuable and showed me the power of helping kids pursue interests. But then also, with my regular schooling, I had a very good traditional education in the UK. But as I entered the world of technology and entrepreneurship, I started seeing just that I had to pick up so many different human skills, life skills, technical skills that just did not form part of my traditional education. And so when it came time for me to have kids, and when I found out at school I didn't have kids, but I knew I wanted to, that got me reflecting on what I wanted for my kids in the future. I started to realize, hang on, the world of work has changed so much in the experience I've had through my career. Why do I think that giving kids the same kind of education that I received is going to be appropriate for the future? Is it? And I started really questioning that and started to realize, yes, I want my kids to have certain key skills and a solid base, but, I don't believe that just sending your kids to a good school, encouraging them to get good grades, having them go to college, that's going to be enough to set them up to be happy and successful in the modern world. I just don't believe it. I think there's a lot more that needs to be done, a lot more that kids need to learn, and we need to change kids how to learn in order to be able to have a future-proof education, because things are changing so fast. And then I started thinking, well, if I'm thinking like that, and my work life, I kind of grew up through the internet. I bet a lot of parents with young kids today, parents my age, are going to be thinking that too. And that's when I thought, hang on, I think there's going to be a massive opportunity here to better serve those families who want something different from their kids and want a future-proof education.
And I recently had Greg Shove on the podcast. He blew my mind. There's a minute clip of this on my YouTube channel where he was talking about the education in school, etc. They're banning AI in school, saying you're not allowed to use that. And really, the reality is that in employment circles, you want people to be able to use AI and how to critical think and get used to using these tools. And if you leave school not having those tools, then you're next to useless in the workplace. So many parents, on top of that, though, outside of that conversation, feel that traditional schools are just not preparing kids for the future and some of those skills that they're going to need. So how does Outschool help maybe bridge that gap, especially with careers emerging that don't exist or didn't exist 5 years ago and in some ways might not even exist now?
Absolutely. Well, there's two ways in which we help. Firstly, because of the enormous range of classes that we provide, we can provide you classes on technology. We can provide you classes on AI. We can provide you classes on software development, future skills. But also with that choice, we can help you pursue interests, which is actually, I believe, even more valuable for the future than just pursuing kind of technical or technological hard skills. And the reason is that what kids learn today about technology might be out of date in 10 or 20 years' time. So, I don't think it's enough to give kids access to today's AI or just give kids access to today's programming language, though we absolutely can provide that. What's most important is that we teach kids how to learn and how to learn differentiated skills so that whatever the future holds, they can pick up what they need. And I believe the best way to do that is to give them agency, autonomy, give them this choice and say, hey, look, it almost doesn't matter what you learn, as long as you are learning how to learn. So go and pursue this interest, get better at it, master it. Go with things that you're really engaged with, go with things that you're good at, and learn how to learn and build these sets of differentiated skills. So that's one way, through the choice that we provide. And then secondly, in Outschool classes, you are interacting with teachers and kids who aren't in the same place as you, who are all over the country or all over the world. And you are interacting with them through a piece of modern technology, these online video rooms. So just by virtue of attending an Outschool class, you are engaging in a very modern form of learning, and kids are picking up, technical skills all along the way. Everything from, how to operate a video conference. My kid started taking Outschool classes when he was 3. And by the time he was 4, he's like pushing me out of the way. No, I know how to do this, picking up that skills at that age. And then learning how to interact in a group in this online environment. All of those are future ready skills as well. So it's not even just about the class content. It's just attending classes with this modern format helps kids be more future ready.
The idea of kids choosing their own classes, like learning biology through Minecraft or science fiction through farts, it sounds incredibly playful and incredibly fun. But it clearly works. It helps that information stick with the kids. But what does the science say about interest-driven learning? Because I know as an adult that as long as I'm interested in it, I will learn so much quicker. And what does the science say around that? And why do you think it's so effective?
Well, there's two key things that research has shown. One is that class size is a massive determinant for outcomes. So with Outschool classes, not only are you pursuing interests, but you are pursuing interests with a small group or even one-on-one with a teacher. So they're really able to customize it for you, and that leads to better outcomes. And secondly, engagement is key. If a kid is not engaging in a class, isn't attending school, isn't engaging in a class, isn't excited or inspired, then how do you expect them to learn anything? Or if they do learn, it's going to be exam cramming. And sure, they might pass the test, but are they going to remember it the next day? That's not real learning. It might look like learning. Maybe we all feel satisfied with it because they checked the box on the test, but it's not real learning. That's not actually preparing for the future. So that combination of small class sizes and high levels of engagement is what drives outcomes. And there's been plenty of studies that show that. The difficulty has been none of this. If you tell folks in schools this stuff, engagement is key, class size is key. Everyone agrees. There's not like some big philosophical or ideological difference here. The issue is it's really hard to achieve small class size engagement given the economics of our schooling systems, where a lot of the funding in schooling has got to go to physical buildings and facilities. And there's limited funding, which means you have to have larger class sizes. And if you're going to have regimented grades, and organized large class sizes by age, as you have to, that's going to be very hard to create choice and create engagement. So the limitations, economic and otherwise, of the traditional system, that it makes it very, very tough to provide those things. But as an online platform, and a new platform built from scratch for the future, we're able to provide that.
And with so much talk around that skills gap, I'm curious, how do you see personalized learning playing a better role in preparing students for the realities of tomorrow's workforce? Because that's where the magic needs to happen. We need to get our kids ready to join that future workforce. How do you see this making a big difference here?
Well, what I don't understand is how we can expect kids to learn differentiated skills unless we offer personalized learning.
Yeah.
And I think differentiated skills are critical for the future. We don't live in an economy anymore where we can expect all kids to learn the same thing and then get kind of ranked according to their ability on the same thing, and then expect large employers to kind of gobble up all the kids. That's just not where the world is going.
Yeah.
Because that's the industrial age economy, and it's being automated away. And in the new economy, the knowledge economy, and the knowledge economy of the future, given AI, I think we're going to need people to develop differentiated skills, and you need to be the best in the world at being you. And you needs to be sufficiently different from everyone else such that you're able to attract your customers and deliver unique value. And we're not going to be able to create that without personalized learning. And that's just the economic argument. I also believe kids will be happier and healthier if we give them choice and personalization. I think that's obvious too. But even just the economic argument, and in my view, is very compelling for the need for personalized learning.
That is such a great point. I think for what years or decades we've been teaching children with the same methods, the same way, so that everyone leaves school to be almost identical and think the same. But now more than ever, we need to get rid of that and be unique, be more personalised, and be the best of what we can be out there. And I also want to highlight that Outschool isn't just a platform. It's actually a community of over 7,000 independent educators. So from your side of things here, how do you ensure quality and innovation when the traditional rules of school systems don't apply? Is that a tricky balance, or?
Yeah, and it's something we invest a lot in, because we're not a completely open platform, right? We don't let anyone teach. We have basic quality standards. And the way we ensure quality and safety is we vet all our teachers, background checks, application process. And then once they're approved, then they can propose classes to teach. We also vet all the classes to make sure they're age appropriate, secular, and objective. And this ensures a base level of quality. And then the other thing that happens is, because we're a marketplace and offer this enormous choice, there's real feedback. Parents and kids offer feedback on the class, which makes the teachers better. And if the quality is not there, we take action. That feedback loop is not something you typically get in schools. You get the report card back on your kids, but very rarely are you asked to offer constructive feedback, to the teacher. And I don't know whether the kids are ever asked. Maybe the parents sometimes are asked by the headmaster or headmistress. But imagine asking the kids what they think of the class. That's what we do, and that ensures quality. But here's what we don't do, and this is different from traditional schooling. We don't insist that teachers use any particular curriculum. It's up to them to decide. They've got to use create curriculum that is within our content policy. So it's got to be age appropriate, objective, and secular. But we let them design the curriculum rather than impose it on them. And that leads to tremendous creativity and creates the kind of choice and personalization that we're able to offer. And also, we don't insist that teachers have a certified teaching credential. Many of our teachers do, and our former in-person classroom teachers, but we don't necessarily require that, because there are plenty of people who could offer high quality experiences for kids who are not necessarily certified teachers. And we offer classes on things like mindfulness for kids, or we have career-based classes. We have cat anatomy taught by a vet. So these are experts and professionals in their field, and we check for their ability to work with kids. But we don't necessarily require that teaching qualification. What that means is we open up the pool of adults who are able to provide great services for kids to a much wider group.
And for many of the reasons that we've mentioned today and a few others, there's a growing unschooling movement at the moment where families are turning away from formal education entirely. I'm curious, what do you make of this trend? And how do you see Outschool as a part of this broader shift that seems to be gaining momentum?
Well, I think the philosophies behind unschooling are a very kind of distilled version of exactly what we're being talking about. The idea of providing choice, self-determination to kids, and then having less structure, but instead going with their interests in an effort to create a personalized experience. So I think that philosophy runs through Outschool. And many of the families that use Outschool have an unschooling philosophy, because while our classes are classes, structured, they have a teacher, people are opting in. So it's not against kind of unschooling philosophy to have a structured class. What makes it unschooling is, does the kid want it? Is this being asked for, and does the kid have agency in attending that structure? So I think it's a very future forward educational philosophy. Now, not everyone can do unschooling; it's very intensive, but increasingly, I'm seeing that some of that philosophy people are adopting in small parts, either with supplementing regular schooling with services like Outschool, or even some schools are starting to realize that this shift needs to happen. And some forward-thinking schools I'm seeing adopt this. For example, the the school that my son attends is one that's based around this philosophy of self-directed education, which is the kind of underlying philosophy that is underneath Unschool.
And as AI continues to shape nearly every industry, how do you see it influencing the future of education? We said at the beginning of the podcast, so I was just remarking on how many institutions are completely banning it. So that's got to change. But how are you seeing it change? And how do you see Outschool thinking about integrating AI without losing the human creativity and learning and education too?
Totally. I mean, I think AI is going to transform education amongst many other areas of our life. I think it's a technology wave that's at least as big as the internet was, and is going to be very transformative over the coming years and decades. But there's a number of ways in which we're using it immediately and other companies using it immediately. One is simply productivity tools. So productivity tools for teachers to help them design better classes faster, to help them turn some quick bulleted notes into a report card for kids. There's a lot of opportunity there. And when you streamline the workflows for teachers, that means they can spend more time actually focused on what they love doing and what they should be doing, which is focusing on your child, rather than all the admin work then there's a lot of it that goes around teachers. That's a massive opportunity. Secondly, some aspects of learning can be just as well done by an AI, and increasingly so in the future. For example, language practice. Language practice with a native speaker. That can be mimicked by an AI now, and it's going to just get better and better. There's going to be selective subjects and types of learning, which I think are going to be, AI tutors are going to be effective for. Some people believe that, AI can replace teachers. I don't believe that at all. Because as a parent, do I want my kids learning exclusively from an AI for their entire childhood? No. So clearly the human element of education is going to remain. And so what I think is going to happen is that AI is going to make much more efficient certain types of learning. And then we can shift our focus on what do we do with our kids' time, if that part of learning has become more efficient, to what are the human elements? What does it mean to be human? How do we want to use our kids' time when interacting with other humans? And that's what we'll focus on for our classes. But the final thing that I think is a kind of a more subtle shift with AI than is typically talked about is I think AI will accelerate parents' realization that what is happening in school is increasingly irrelevant for the future, because they will see the impact of AI in their work, and then they will look at school and see them banning AI or unable to adapt, and it increasingly look completely divorced from what is needed from the future. And that's going to continue to drive, I believe, this desire from families for something different, for something new, for changes in education.
Well, we started the podcast today talking about your personal origin story, from that kid in the UK coding games to moving to San Francisco, creating a company that has now helped over 1 million students explore their interest with live online classes in just about every subject that you can think of. But as we come full circle now, I want you to look back at your career, because none of us are able to achieve any success without a little help along the way. So is there a particular person that might have seen something in you, invested a little time, someone you're grateful towards, who maybe played a big part in helping you getting you where you are today, that we can give that little shout out, that little thank you to? Who would it be and why? I
moved to San Francisco to start my first company 15 years ago, and from the UK. But when I think about, someone I want to thank, I go back to when I was in the UK and just finishing up my traditional schooling before going to college. And there's a guy called Amir Nathoo at IBM. And he ran a program that was like a gap year program for kids who were interested in technology and wanted to get some work experience before going to college. And he was older and coming to the end of his career, and he was really doing this as a kind of benevolence. I feel investment in the future, and not for immediate ROI for him or for IBM, but he ran this program with great love. And I didn't come from a wealthy background. I didn't have I had good grades, but I didn't necessarily fit the mold I felt for what a program like that typically takes in. And I've since got like accolades and degrees and all that good stuff. But at the time, I felt he really opened a door for me and took a bet on me to be part of that program. And that was a massive impact on my life, because I went from kind of tinkering around with computers in my childhood to now working at IBM, even before I went to college, having that work experience, seeing what it meant really to build software, back before it was, cool as an industry, massively impactful. And I always remember a question that he would ask people in the interview, which, is still a very interesting question to contemplate. What is luck? What does it mean to be lucky? And I think about that a lot, because I feel like there's an element in which you can get better at recognizing luck and taking advantage of happenstance, etc., and a way in which you can make yourself. But at the same time, when I reflect on the story of how Ian and others helped shape me, I also reflect on pure luck. And gratitude for sometimes just getting a lucky break, and it's not all within our control. And part of, I think, education and life is coming to that realization and accepting that, and working with it. So I'm very grateful to Ian Nussey.
Oh man, what a beautiful story and a great moment to end on. So a big shout out to Ian Nussey, who is probably blissfully unaware on the scale of the impacts and what it's had on your career and everything that you've created. So hopefully he will get to listen to this. And for everybody else listening who we've piqued their interest talking about Outschool, where would you like to point them for everyone listening?
Come to our website, outschool.com. We hope you can find the classes that you want for your family. I'd encourage you to go there and sit with your kids and look through the selection and see when their eyes light up. And that's the class to take.
Awesome. Well, I'll add links to everything to make that nice and easy for everyone. And there's so many big talking points from our conversation today. But for me, this move away from a one-size-fits-all approach to education can only be a great thing, especially this move towards personalized learning and interest-driven learning, and especially at a time where many families are ditching traditional education for more passion-driven learning. And I think it's not even about the technology. If we stripped all the technology away from everything we've talked about today, I think it all comes back to creativity, critical thinking, and adaptability. These are the most in-demand skills of 2030, or the predicted skills of 2030. So thank you for shining a light on this today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I think our conversation with Amir highlights this powerful shift, and that the future of education will not be about conformity, but how we all stand out from the crowd, offering our unique selves and all those skills that come with that. So giving children the tools to think critically, adapt quickly, and pursue their interests might be the best way to truly prepare them for careers and challenges that don't even exist yet. And Outschool's approach, yes, it does indeed challenge many assumptions about how and where learning should happen. But it reminds us that education is driven by engagement and curiosity rather than some old school rigid system. And in doing so, it becomes not just more effective, but more human. And that's an important point to make, because as AI continues to reshape society, it is perhaps this very human element, our creativity, our empathy and adaptability, that education must now nurture the most. So how do you feel we should be preparing this next generation for a world that is defined by constant change? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please join the conversation and anything new that you would like to bring to today's conversation. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X and Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. But that's it for today. School is officially out for now, but I will return very soon with another guest. But thank you for listening as always, and I'll speak with you again very soon. Bye for now.